Hey folks, welcome back to the Lone Pine Tarot, or if you are new here, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me today for a pick a card reading where we're going to tap into the Akashic Records. More specifically, we're going to ask if we can receive a helpful message for the path ahead. So this is kind of like an immediate future type reading, maybe up until a few months after the time you view this particular video. And we're going to try to glean the most helpful advice that we can for everything that's going to happen within that time frame. Okay, so kind of like a ask the universe, give us a little bit of a toolbox for what's going to happen in the next few months type reading, just to make the path a little bit easier for you. So without further ado, let us pick our piles. We're using the Wild Harmonic Oracle today. So Spirit tapping into the Akashic Records for everybody today. Could you please guide us to the right cards for them to choose their piles with? Thank you. Okay, there's one. So we'll talk about this in a second. That is pile 1. Pile 2. And pile 3. Okay, so I'll mention their names in just a second here. So for pile number 1 on the left, we have Celestial of Dimensional Original Wakefulness. For pile number 2, here in the middle, we have Spirit of Shadow, Star Crossed. And for pile number 3 over here on the right, we have Shadow of Dimensional with Quandary, Crossroads. Okay, so quick refresher, pile 1 I will refer to in the description as Original Wakefulness. Pile 2 is Star-Crossed, and pile 3 is Quandary, Crossroads, though of course you're always welcome to pause on this part of the video if you need more time to decide what pile you would like read for you. If you're new to pick a card readings, I always recommend a quick meditative breath, so breathe in real slow, imagine breathing in pure light into your lungs. Hold it for a moment. Then let it back out, and when you open your eyes again, or look at the screen again, I should say, really think about what does your first gut instinct tell you? What is your eye really drawn to? And you'll kind of feel it like a knowing in your stomach, you know, kind of like a trusting your gut is the phrase we like to use. And that is the pile I recommend that you choose. So, but whatever your method, you can drop down to the description box below or the top pinned comment beneath the reading. Find the timestamp there for your pile, and I'll see you in our chat about a message from the Akashic Records on helpful advice for the path ahead. See you there. Hello there, my beautiful pile number 1. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about a helpful message from a glimpse into the Akashic Records on your path ahead. As you recall, the pile leader you chose today was the card of Celestial of Dimensional with the title Original Wakefulness. Very beautiful card. This is a card that's a little bit more on the higher spiritual level than some of the other cards in this deck. And what I mean when I say that pile 1 is, you know, we have other elements in this deck that are about like our ambitions and about, you know, the material things like our career and our finances, our emotions, relationships, things like that, very 3D level things. This card that you were drawn to today is very like 4D and above. It's very a spiritual card, like I said, just to summarize. And specifically this card means honoring oneself, being true to self, and really aligning well with your values and giving your values attention is the way that the guidebook for the deck explained it, okay? It's really the marriage of the above with the below in terms of our values. So that seems to be kind of a theme coming forward for you in the next, you know, months to a few months, your path ahead as we described it in the intro of this video. And so keep an eye out for that, because that seems to be the overarching theme. Okay. Of course, we'll grab more details. We have lots more cards to draw, but might be some challenges regarding staying true to your values, or your values being challenged, or making sure that you're true to self in the next few months. Okay. But yes, more info. So let's actually grab some, I was going to do tarot first, but I'm actually going to do the tea leaves first after your pile leader for today, pile 1. So Spirit, tapping into the Akashic Records for the path ahead for pile 1. Could you give us a glimpse of what's going on? Okay. Of course, we'll also derive advice. Interesting. We have the tiger frying pan. Okay. And then I'm going to do the other half of the tea leaf deck. Such a big deck, I have to split it into. Anything else from the Akashic Records for the path ahead for pile 1? Okay, I'm also going to take this one. I usually don't take this many of the tea leaves, but it was sticking out pretty prominently, so we'll take a gander at it. So pile 1, you have frying pan, trouble, accusations. Interesting. I always think of the phrase from the frying pan into the freezer. I'm sure a lot of you are probably like running away from the reading. They're like, oh, that sounds scary. Just wait. We have wind chime C. We have peace and harmony. So there's a positive card. Then we have the butterfly, a change for the better. So you know what, pile 1, I'm just going to call it now. I think there's a lot about the path ahead next 2 months or so that is going to be a drastic move towards a path in life that is better for you, not just on the material level, but guiding back to the pile leader with it being a very kind of spiritual theme for the next 2 months for you. I think it's going to be better for you on a spiritual level as well. And then we do have Tiger, which was the first one that popped out. Oh, I can't grab it. There we go. Doing something risky, taking a chance. So, would not be surprised if the Fool card comes out with your tarot cards. Doing something risky, taking a chance. Okay. Yeah, so there's kind of a twofold thing here, pile 1. We did talk about, maybe there's a little bit of trouble brewing with trouble accusations with the frying pan, but the really good silver lining of the next few months of what's going on in the, near future is that there's a lot of benefit after some of the issues have been resolved, okay? Like it says, a change for the better, doing something risky, taking a chance, peace and harmony. So it almost kind of feels like a timeline of maybe some trouble, you do something risky, you take a chance, and then it not only is that change for the better, but it's peace and harmony like the wind chimes talks about, okay? So maybe one of those periods of time in your life where things are going to be like, sometimes you have months at a time where everything just seems kind of stagnant and it's peaceful, but nothing really exciting happens. To me, intuitively, it almost feels like your near future pile 1 is going to be more roller coastery, like, oh, maybe there's a little bit of a dip and then boom, you get like a higher trajectory with these more positive cards of, peace and harmony, a change for the better, things like that. What a fascinating beginning to our reading here. Let me grab tarot next. So, Spirit from the Akashic Records. Could you tell me more about the specific situation you have in mind with this theme that we're seeing from the tea leaves? Thank you. Okay, there's one. Okay, that's too much. I can't take that many. So, we'll set these back in. Let me shuffle that one more time. Okay. There we go. There's 2 more. We'll take those. So 1, 2, 3, and 5. So this will tell us the full story. So the first card we have is the 3 of Cups. Very interesting. I always see the first card as, I call it the inciting incident card in my personal method of tarot reading. And the 3 of Cups is all about a social group or a group of people or a social event. So I think a lot of this has to do with other people. Pile 1, this whole situation, a group that you're in, could be a workplace, could be a friend group, family, things like that. Let's get some more details. And the 5 of Pentacles. Okay, so 5 of Pentacles, pile 1, can mean hardship. We have a figure here. She's kind of in the cold. There's a church right next to her with the stained glass that's warm, but for some reason she's just kind of left out. Maybe she's kind of put herself out there, like she feels she doesn't belong, or maybe the that particular like church had left her out, things like that. So she's struggling to survive. It's almost like sometimes it can mean an institution has failed you card, but it also can just mean like hardships in general. Okay, so it's kind of the poverty card. It's kind of the card of a bit of a struggle. And once again, don't run away from the reading. Just hear me out. Because I think this is regarding that maybe some of the trouble at the very beginning, and then it's that trajectory to get better. But let's, of course, look at the other cards we have. Okay, Strength reversed is the heart of the matter. So a bit of a theme of needing to perhaps gain more confidence in some area, and that's going to be part of the doing something risky, I think. Taking a chance, taking the bravery to move away from this hardship with this social group to help fix it and get, the change for the better and the peace and harmony aspect. And two, remember what I said about your pie leader. It's about like staying true to your values here. That's kind of the theme for the next 2 months on your path ahead. It's about honoring your values. Okay, so it's almost maybe like, especially with that Three of Cups at the beginning, pile one, it's almost like there's a group that you come into conflict with, so trouble, accusations, right, that you come into conflict with because there's some sort of disagreement over values, okay? And it's almost a test for you, is what I'm hearing, in that your spirit guides will work alongside you to gain or to give you, I should say, not gain, to give you strength through this time of learning this lesson when it comes to, do you choose the easy route of do what the group says, go with the herd mentality because it's safer for me to not be, the tall poppy sticking out trying to, be the muckraker trying to, like, when you know what that means, pile one. It's like, sometimes we have these influences in life where we're in a group, and sometimes we feel influenced to go along with the group just because it's easier not to stick out or cause any trouble. We don't want to rock the boat. But this is a challenge for you, pile one. This is an opportunity for a life lesson, is what your spirit guides are saying. And like what the Akashic Records is specifically what we asked to give the trajectory, right? It's a lesson in courage. It's a lesson in taking risks, even when everybody else says you're wrong, okay? Staying true to your values. We have the King of Pentacles reversed, okay? So that can indicate maybe there's even a risk involved for, like, career, or a risk involved for finances, because the King of Pentacles reversed is like, a little bit of potential instability with finances or career, or an inability to be able to manage those things because of because it's like the external manifestation of Earth gone wrong with it being reversed. So it's like, yeah, something along those lines. Okay. It can also represent a masculine figure who is involved with your finances or involved with your career, that causes some issues that maybe is kind of part of the group that we were talking about. That's another way to interpret a court card. And then we also have, at the very end, the Knight of Swords reversed. Okay, Knight of Swords reversed is either someone taking action who, like, misspeaks a little bit, or it's like a lack of clear communication, someone who takes action on an idea, but it doesn't go so well. What an interesting reading, pile one. So I won't repeat too much at the beginning, because we've already covered that a lot with your tea leaves and your pie leader and then the first 3 cards. These next 2 months, the path ahead is a lesson in your courage, okay? Taming the lion, just like it, well, it looks like a little bit of a different creature here, but the traditional depiction of strength is a woman holding open the jaws of a lion, okay, on the original Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And it's taming the lion, taming our fear, and taking control, okay, especially where our values are concerned. So there might be some trouble around this. There might be some, I don't want to say sabotage, pile one, but there is that card of frying pan with, like, trouble with accusations. Maybe because you go against the crowd with that 3 of Cups next to the 5 of Pentacles. People try to make it hard for you because, they don't like that you're challenging the status quo, and maybe you're pointing out some uncomfortable truths about, are we really doing something that has values? Are you really being, are we being ethical people in this group with what it is that we're trying to achieve? Or, maybe there's someone in the group that's doing something bad, and, like, you point it out, and, like, people get upset because they're like, well, how dare you, Or maybe it's even that you accuse someone else of something, pile one. That could be another interpretation of the frying pan. Maybe it's not even an accusation launched against you. It could be someone giving an accusation towards you. Or I'm sorry. Blech. Not just an accusation towards you. It can be you giving an accusation towards somebody else. Okay. So maybe that causes a little bit of an upset. But you do it because there is a value of yours that this life lesson surrounds, where it's like they want you to be true to that value of yours, okay? And that's why you do it, okay? Even though it's risky. It's risky, pile one. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. It might create some hardship. It might create, especially with this King of Pentacles reversed and the Knight of Swords reversed, both court cards can represent people, right? Could be someone who has, mastery over the, or control over the financial aspect of this. Say if it is like a job, maybe it's a boss that you point out is doing something bad. And that can be scary, pile one. But you point it out anyways. Or at least you're being encouraged to, because you know they're doing something wrong, okay? And as the outcome card, the Knight of Swords reversed, like I said, could be a person, so that could be maybe like the way that you were interpreted initially in the situation. Maybe people think, oh, you spoke out of turn, you shouldn't have done that. Or people might initially think, oh, well, pile one isn't telling the truth, okay? Even though you are, like, you know that something happened. Because if it didn't, then why would your value be risked, or your values be risked, right? Or why would it go against your values if you weren't already sure that this is something that someone is doing wrong, right? And so it's the battle between appearances. It's the battle between, who do people believe? But pile one, I am seeing a positive trajectory with this. And this is why I said earlier, don't run away from the reading just because, trouble came up and the Five of Pentacles came up with hardship and whatnot, because it's a change for the better. Peace and harmony. Sometimes to make way for better foundations, you have to clear away the old foundation in the first place, okay? And a lot of times in life, people don't like it when you clear out what has been or what is, because people are uncomfortable with change. People are uncomfortable with chaos. People like the comfort of, knowing exactly how things will go, of thinking that their worldviews are completely perfect, right? Everybody likes to be right? So when we find out that we're wrong, human ego gets in the way and we get upset. And that can rock the boat. But I think you, pile one, are the type of person, you're going to hold up that torch, or you're being encouraged to, at least, to show this is the right thing to do, even if it's a pain in the butt to point it out, is just how I'll put it, right? So, yeah, it's overall, what the Akashic Records are showing you, pile one, here are, specifically, it seems like it's not just one event. It seems like it's kind of like an overarching story that occurs over the next few months, okay? I mean, because it's not like immediately that you're going to notice maybe you already kind of noticed something is wrong with this group or something going on in this particular situation at the time that you're viewing this reading, or maybe it's something you kind of discover shortly after this, and it's like, then that kind of festers for a while. You kind of think about it. You're like, I don't know. Maybe that takes a few weeks, maybe a month. And then comes a chance for you to speak out or change it with strength reversed. Okay. It's almost like the intuitive image that they're showing me for this is, it's a chance in your life with this situation for you to do like some spiritual like bulking up. Like they're literally showing an arm pumping like a barbell, like you're like weight training at the gym, okay? Like maybe it's not so fun when the muscle starts to burn a little bit, but you get those thick gains, right? Like you have some nice beefy biceps, spiritually speaking, after this. Gaining that strength, okay? Taming the lion of fear, or maybe tiger specifically, despite someone that might have control over the financial situation, or the fear that they might do something with that power negatively against you, okay? And despite, too, maybe the appearance of people might think, oh, you're speaking out of turn, or you're speaking too fast, you shouldn't have pointed this out, or whatever qualms people might have with it, be it either they're trying to give someone the benefit of the doubt, or they're a part of the problem and they don't want that getting out, right? Cockroaches scatter when the light shines on them, right? So they don't like it when the light is shined on, or shown, I should say, on them. And so Instead of fixing themselves, they tend to get mad at you. So, but it's for the better. So let's grab, we do have some extra oracle cards here of advice. We could also maybe see if there's any other themes on the path ahead here. Okay, well that was quick. We have Bounty. You know, this card comes up a lot when I use this deck. We have Bounty number 51. Very beautiful. Almost looks like some kind of trumpet vine, but it looks like morning glories almost, or moonflowers. I would say by the dark color, probably morning glories. Okay. But yes, Bounty is an abundance of something. Okay. And it's very interesting too, pile one. I just noticed this with this card. And like I said, I pull it so many times and there's new things I notice all the time with my cards. There's almost like angel wings behind her. Like you see this really stark line right here and here. Angel wings. It's like she's protecting something, okay? Protecting the bounty, okay? Nurturing the bounty. So I do see that despite these issues, okay, this change is going to a place of higher bounty for you, okay? So if there are like financial considerations and whether or not, oh, should I speak out or not? Like say if it is maybe a manager and you're afraid they're going to fire you if you speak up, I mean, we already had positive indicators from the other tea leaf cards, but bounty is just another reconfirmation to me as the tarot reader reading this that there's good things coming after this. Should you be brave enough to stand up for what's right, I guess is the phrase I would use, okay? And it's also kind of a message of reaping what you sow, okay? You know, if you... Like a good metaphor, pile one, is let's say you're working on, oh, what's a good metaphor? I'm being drawn to the idea of a garden, I think, because Bounty is like, she's like kind of tending to some flowers above her. Imagine you are tending a garden with a group of people, right? And you notice that someone that is tending the garden with you, they're pouring, like, say, weed killer on some of the flowers. And nobody else notices but you. And you might say, well, it's safer for me not to point out someone who is pouring the weed killer on the flowers because say that someone is the person funding the entire project of the garden, let's just say. However, how good is that garden going to be if someone just keeps letting them pour the weed killer on the flowers, right? It's going to be just crap, okay? It's going to not be a very good garden. Things are going to keep dying, okay? And people might find out on their own later on because they're going to be like, okay, why is these flowers just keep dying? Like, we got to research and investigate what's going on. But if you point it out faster, pile one, that's less flowers dead. That's less chance for that corruption to spread, okay? And so that leads to greater bounty. Okay. I mean, it's like anything in gardening. When you notice something is wrong with a plant, say a fungus, the faster you nip it in the bud, the more greater the bounty of the thing that you're growing will be. Okay, so it's like paying attention and being attuned to problems and snipping the problems away faster. Okay, not hesitating so much. I see is like another theme coming forward here. All right, and then let us grab the Lantern Oracle, which... You know, sometimes people call it like a shadow self deck. I think it's more of a lesson deck. So this will maybe tap into another lesson to be learned in the next few months here on your path ahead. I do love this deck to pieces. Most underrated oracle deck. Okay, we have, interesting, so we talked about change with the butterfly. We have transitions, number 37. You have all of the inner resources you need to cross whatever bridges arise on your path, okay? And I also love the imagery of this card, pile one, because this particular deck shows women from different stages of life. And as you can tell by the whitened hair on the woman in this particular card, she's someone who is older, right? And by her kind of melding into Stardust, it almost reminds me of the phrase from Stardust to Stardust. You know, we start as Stardust and we end as Stardust, at least our physical bodies, okay? So it's kind of like something ending, leading to the newness of something else, okay? So I'll use an astronomy example. Star explodes. big nebula gets spread everywhere. New stars are born out of the gas and the dust left over from the first star. Assuming it wasn't big enough to be a black hole, but most stars, they turn into nebulae, right? And so that's why it's almost a depiction of nebulae here. New stars being born. So it's like the death of something. The death of this corruption, of what's going on here, of the way things were before, will lead to that change. That's positive, that change for the better. Even the butterfly is an image of, or symbol of transition, right? Pile 1. Butterfly is a caterpillar, goes into the cocoon, completely rechanges its body, comes out, it's something new, it's something better, at least in terms of, well, it's survival, because a butterfly is maybe a little bit easier to get away from a bird eating it than a caterpillar, which, they sit there a little bit more, so, but it's a change for the better, right? Caterpillar or the butterfly, right? And the change is over the next few months are for the better. So I think the reason why they're really emphasizing this too, Pile 1, is because while this is going on, with all these changes occurring, with all these questions of morality going on, it might feel a bit hectic. It might feel like, oh my God, this is like, I don't want to say world ending because it's maybe not that drastic, Pile 1, but say it is like something at your job, and it might be a manager that you have to point out is doing something wrong. That really can be scary, Pile 1. That's not a fun place to be in. And so I think the reason why the universe wanted us to tap into this particular message from the Akashic Records for you, and your spirit guides too, is because they want to give you a heads up on these tumultuous changes so that when it happens, there isn't a doom and gloom feeling of, oh God, I don't know what's gonna, like, is this gonna go completely downhill? Is this gonna just plop right into a ditch? Like, no, it's gonna get better. It's going to be for the better. Like those positive changes, that bounty after clearing out the fungus that was in the garden before, okay, or the weed killing person, I guess was kind of the weird metaphor I used, but yeah. So stay true to your values, Pile 1. Stay true to who you are. Stay true to your morality, even when it is really difficult to do so, even when it would be a lot easier just to kind of, roll over and let things happen, okay? Because it is better to uproot that which is not good than to let evil fester and let things get worse. So stay true to your values. Stand up for yourself, Pile 1, okay? Lean into, if there's anything that you take away from this reading after walking away from this video, pay close attention to the Strength card. Lean into your courage. That's the main theme I would give you for the next few months, or your path ahead, as we described it in like the title of the video, right? Okay. Don't be afraid of the tiger, be the tiger. It's, I guess, another more cheesy way of putting it, right? Eye of the Tiger. I keep thinking of Eye of the Tiger because of your tiger card here from, oh God, who was the band that did that? Was that Survivor? I don't know. I'll put it down in the description for you, Pile 1. Eye of the Tiger. There you go. That is your anthem for the next few months is how I would put it. So, yeah. And just know there's peace and harmony afterwards. Change for the better. And bounty, okay? And you have all the inner resources you need to cross whatever bridges arise on your path. So also, this is your spirit guides telling you that you are strong enough. It's just you have to believe in that strength to use it, okay? Because it's almost like that barbell metaphor I saw before about, like, it's like, oh, a spiritual strengthening, like going to the spiritual gym and lifting some weights, right? How do you know you can lift the weight if you don't try, right? Same thing with your courage. How do you know that you have enough strength if you don't take a chance at flexing your spiritual muscles, right? Things like that. Okay, so that was your reading for the next 2 months, your path ahead, right? From the Akashic Records, seeing at least on the timeline you're on right now, Pile 1, okay? Of course, things can always change. You always have free will, but I do hope that reading was helpful for you, and I hope it resonated. I hope you liked it, and if so, please like and comment and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, enjoy listening to Eye of the Tiger as much as you can. Hopefully you like the song, right? And I hope to see you in the next reading, pile 1. Toodaloo. Hello there, my beautiful pile number 2. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about your Akashic Records helpful message for your path ahead, roughly, a month to a few months in the future. As you recall, the pile leader you chose was Spirit of Shadow with the 2 die and the title of Star Crossed. Okay, so in this particular deck, Spirit as an element represents the throat chakra. And we associate the throat chakra with the way that we speak, okay? We're feeling free to speak our truth, okay? Things like that. And shadow is sometimes either something that needs to be worked on, or it's kind of like the dark side of that. So the dark side of the throat chakra, of course, is feeling like either we can't say something, or it can also mean things that we say to others or to ourselves even, especially. That's a really big emphasis on this card in the guidebook that came with the deck, is the way that we speak to ourselves about things. It's the shadowy things that we say to ourselves in terms of, elemental terminology, right? Like, I'm not good enough, or I can't do that, or, sometimes even, and this is something that I've learned, pile 2, is that a lot of the times the negative things we tell ourselves aren't really our voices. Sometimes those stem from the voices of people in our past that we've learned to echo and we adopt as thinking it is our voice, but really it's not. Okay? Like, for an example, like, say when you were young, what's a good example? Like, say you had a parent that said, oh, you talk too much. You need to be more quiet. So then forever, for the rest of your life up until this point, perhaps you had the opinion of yourself of, okay, well, I need to not talk as much. My opinion is not as valued, okay? And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, pile 2, because the more that you echo that voice from the past and you tell yourself that, the more your opinion is not valued because you're not putting it out there to be valued. So that's what this card is all about. And I know, sorry, I kind of rambled on a little bit about just the pile leader, but this is the beauty of this particular deck, is just the depth that it goes to. And I like to see these pile leaders you were drawn to as kind of the theme of your path ahead. So maybe some challenges with the throat chakra in terms of the way you communicate both to others and yourself, or feeling free to speak your truth. And then it can also be a card about improving like attitude and like your perspectives to change a situation. Okay. Like seeing the glass is half full versus half empty. Things like that. So we'll set this over to the left as is custom. And to start the reading, I have been going with tea leaves first. Okay. And then we'll do tarot and then we'll do oracle. So let's go with tea leaves. Spirit guiding the wonderful pile 2 today. Tapping into the Akashic Records, can you tell us more about their path ahead, next month, few months, themes, what's going on, things you want them? Okay, we got Broken Bridge is number 1. I'm going to take this one as well, the Broken Bridge, and then I also have the other half of the deck, because this deck is very big. I always have to shuffle it in 2 spurts. Anything else? Okay, definitely this one right here was wanting to pop out. We'll take 3. So, first one that popped out, pile 2, is Broken Bridge. Unsuccessful outcome to a problem. Okay. Don't run away from the reading yet. Just hear me out. Unsuccessful outcome to a problem. We have Broom. New home, new attitude. Okay. Maybe there's a bit of a move coming. Okay. Cleaning out the old, making room for the new. Also, at least in the northern hemisphere at the time I'm uploading this reading, it is kind of getting near spring. It's still winter, but we always associate spring with, spring cleaning, making room for the new by pushing out the old. Okay, so that might be a bit of a theme here in the next few months. And speaking of spring, what a wonderful symbol. We have the tulip. Great passion. Beautiful. Very fitting for the spring, at least here in the northern hemisphere. So, unsuccessful outcome to a problem, new home, new attitude, and great passion. So, it's funny, pile 1 today had a very straightforward, kind of very focused message. I think you're getting very multiple things like touched upon here for you, pile 2, for the next few months with this path ahead. I do see something with new surrounding environment with a new home, new attitude. That could be something as simple as maybe changing out the decor, or maybe you're offered, like a friend wants to throw out a furniture item and it's like in near pristine condition and you're like, oh, hey, I'll take it. Like, there's no sense in just throwing it out. So it could be just like a new item that's very important to like the way that a room in your house or your apartment feels. Okay. It could literally be like an entirely new home. Maybe you're even looking to purchase a new home or property, things like that. That seems to be something that Spirit wants to touch on with you through the Akashic Records, the timeline that it's seeing. And then we have great passion. Okay, so that can mean love. That can mean something to do with a passion in terms of like a hobby or a skill that you have. And then we do have maybe a little bit of a warning with unsuccessful outcome to a problem. All right. And trying to connect it to your pile leader. Remember, because it was all about the way that we talk to ourselves or others, or the way we view a situation and tell ourselves about it. Half glass full versus half empty. Let's draw your tarot cards. Okay, I want to see some more. Spirit, looking into the Akashic Records for pile 2, could you give us a little bit of a trajectory here with their path ahead? What's going on? More clarity, thank you. Oh, well, definitely that one. And 5. Okay, pile 2. We have the 3 of Swords as the inciting incident. Well, okay, 3 of Swords means pain. Once again, don't run away from the reading. Hear me out. We have pain. All right. And once again, it's self-inflicted pain. Look, she's the one holding the sword and she's cutting her own wings. Remember I was talking to you about the way we talk to ourselves? The self-fulfilling prophecy of I can't, so I don't. Okay. So it seems to be pile 2 that, even too with new home, new attitude, because your pile leader talked about attitude as well, like your broom card does, about how your attitude towards things can change the trajectory of how it occurs or how things turn out. So that's theme number 1 that's really major popping out from your tarot cards, is being wary on your path ahead of the way you inflict pain upon yourself that is unnecessary. Okay? The way you view yourself and punish yourself in ways that are overly negative and not helpful, or maybe not even true, pile 2. That's another thing too. Sometimes we tell ourselves things that aren't true about ourselves that hurt rather than help. Like, very common, I am not good enough. That's a very common thing people think, and it's really sad, but, and then, fittingly, hey, look at that. The Hangman reversed is about needing to look at things from a new perspective. Yeah. Okay, so definitely a big thing popping out. We have a lot of synchronicities about perspectives and attitudes. Okay. One of the major life lessons of your path ahead here in the near future, pile 2, is the way you look at things. Okay, I won't repeat it too ad nauseum, but that is popping out. And we have the 2 of Cups as the heart of the matter, right? We have, I think that's Enkidu and Gilgamesh, or at least one of them is Gilgamesh, right? 2 best friends, right? From the Epic of Gilgamesh, 2 of Cups. Sometimes it can also mean a romantic relationship card, the 2 of Cups, which, we do have great passion. But in general, it's the harmony we have in relationships. And I think, I don't know, pile 2, if you tend to have an issue with, for some of you at least, I'm hearing where when it comes to your relationships, there might be like a self-defeatism that affects your relationships with other people. Like a really common one that I have seen in my personal life with, or like I've heard about in other people's relationships too, is like say you get into a relationship and you really, really like this person and you think, oh God, they're just the bee's knees, they're so good. And then you think about yourself and you're like, God, I don't feel good enough for this person. So you almost self-sabotage because of it. I'm not saying like all of you are like this, but there's some sort of thread popping out here intuitively where I think maybe some of you, that's the way like an attitude can affect a relationship, because in truth, pile 2, the other person probably thinks probably the same thing. They're probably like, oh wow, pile 2 is so good. I don't feel like I'm good enough for them, which is ironic because like you're both kind of thinking the same thing about each other. when in reality, it's like you're both like perfect for each other. Well, I mean, not every relationship is perfect, but just in that example, right? So really, really pay attention to the way that your perspective affects your relationships with others, both, well, romantically, we had, great passion, but also, like Gilgamesh and Enkidu, right? That was a friendship, okay? How does it affect your friendships as well, or your relationships at work, okay? Like, say a manager wants you to take on a new project and you think, oh my God, there's no way that I'm good enough for that project. I don't have these skills. I don't think I'm responsible enough. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of, well, it doesn't happen because you feel like you're not good enough, so you don't take it. And then you feel like you're not good enough because you didn't get it. But part of it was because you rejected it because you thought that you weren't good enough. It's kind of like that cyclical reasoning of the self-fulfilling prophecy like we were talking about. So beware of attitudes like that here soon in the near future, pile 2. And then we have 5 of Swords reversed, okay? Overcoming conflict or avoiding conflict, especially harsh conflict with the 5 of Swords, because swords are a little bit harsher than the 5 of Wands, okay? So I think the reason why they want to tell you this is because part of your life path that the Akashic Records are speaking of here in the near future is that they want you to be able to avoid relationship conflicts. Okay. If you don't have that perspective change with the Hangman reversed about the way that you self-inflict pain or the way that you view yourself negatively, pile 2, it might affect a relationship that's important to you, okay? And that's why they're trying to give you a heads up. They're like, we want you to learn this life lesson to avoid this conflict with a relationship, like the 2 of Cups next to the 5 of Swords reversed. Interesting, the 2 of Pentacles reversed is last as the outcome. Okay, so 2 of Pentacles reversed is like an imbalance. So it's like if you fix this imbalance, and 2, it's like almost revealing there's an imbalance. I just keep hearing that you're far too hard on yourself, pile 2. Far, far, far too hard on yourself. To the point that it might affect your relationships. And then the 2 of Pentacles reverse is like, yeah, it's like an imbalance of some sort. And I think what they're saying, pile 2, is it's almost like it makes life a lot harder to juggle than it has to be. But because of this toxic mentality here with the self-inflicting of pain, it's like getting yourself out of that rut of negative thinking, and that'll make it so much better. And I think, too, part of this being, a path ahead reading, pile 2, is that you'll come across opportunities that will help you switch these perspectives. That's another thing, too, with the 2 of Cups being the heart of the matter. It could be that your relationship with someone else does reveal this about you in a positive way, where it's like, you... like going with the relationship example again, where you're like, oh, I don't feel like I'm good enough for my partner. And your partner turns around and says, oh no, you're like the best partner I've ever had. You're like perfect for me. Okay. Just as an example, right? And that can like break you out of that negative loop of thinking, oh, I'm not good enough, or, I don't deserve this person, because that person themselves is saying, no, you are good enough. Okay. And then sometimes we can fall into the trap of still not believing them. And maybe that kind of causes conflict, because it's like the partner might then think, well, you don't believe me? Like, how come you don't believe me? Like, why don't you trust what I say? So take in your relationships in the next few months here, pile 2. When people say positive things about you that challenge your perspective on negative things that you think about yourself, please believe those positive things, okay? That's another piece of advice I'm hearing for you on the path ahead, okay? And then 2, I think with great passion, I'm also hearing it's like there's things that you are capable of that you don't think you're good enough at as well, in terms of your passions. You always, you give me really strong imposter syndrome vibes too, pile 2. Like a lot of times people that are really, really good at things, they get what's called imposter syndrome. And for those of you that aren't familiar with that term, it's basically the feeling of, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, I'm just an imposter. But actually, like, most of the time, the people that doubt themselves the most when it comes to things that they're good at are, like, sometimes the best people at that thing, okay? It's kind of like that old phrase, we always think about, like, the more I know that I don't know, and in which case makes you more wise, because, like, the more knowledge or skill that you gain in an area, the more you know that there's so much more to learn. And I think that's what happens with this imposter syndrome. It's almost like that self-fulfilling prophecy thing again of, I think I'm not good enough, so it's like, it can even affect the way that you, what's the word, pile two? It can affect the way that you perform too, or like give yourself the opportunities to like perform these passions or these skills, because like, let's say you're really, really good at singing, and people have told you that, but you don't necessarily believe them. And then an opportunity comes up for you to go to, say, like a karaoke night, which would show off that particular skill, right? But then because of that self-defeating belief, you don't go to that karaoke night, and you miss the chance out on a relationship that you could have had, like, say, meeting a future partner or meeting a really, really good lifelong friend, like we see here with the Two of Cups, okay? So that's another piece of advice here, is don't let your negative beliefs about yourself cut into your willingness to try new things in the next 2 months and to take new opportunities. That's another thing that I'm hearing for you, okay? If it's something that you're passionate about, do it even if you think you're not good at it, okay? Because I promise you, pile two, you're a lot better at things than you think you are. All right? Interesting, because I mentioned singing, and then I was just thinking how the element of spirit with your pile leader is the throat chakra. Singing, right? Throat chakra, things like that. Okay, maybe some of you are singers, hey? Or musicians in general. Okay. And I'm also hearing pile two, because I was looking too at Broken Bridge, and it says unsuccessful outcome to a problem. I think maybe there is a chance for you, and timelines are wonky, pile two, so this might not happen for all of you. It might change if you change this perspective before this happens, but I do see a pivotal moment too where this does get in your way on your path ahead, and it leads to an unsuccessful outcome to a problem. And that might be for those of you that don't like change this perspective of yourself, at least, or improve it at least a little bit, because it's not an overnight thing you can do, right? But for those of you that don't make enough of that change before that unsuccessful outcome to a problem here, like, that's kind of a pivotal moment that like jolts you into thinking like, oh, wait a minute, like, I remember that reading that said, hey, I need to believe in myself more. And that will like help you fix it in like the second attempt at whatever the like fixing whatever the problem was specifically. Okay. All right. Let's grab some more oracle cards. We have the Ask Your Guides Oracle, Akashic Records. What else do you want to tell them about their path ahead? So yeah, be willing to entertain new perspectives. Be wary of your self-inflicted pain, pile two. We also have limitation. Interesting. Number 44. And we were just talking about your belief in yourself, limiting yourself, right? Or your lack of belief in self, limiting yourself. And sometimes it's also a card of knowing your limitations. I think there might be something that, especially if it's linked to that unsuccessful outcome to a problem, pile two, where you have that, once again, that tendency to really like highly blame yourself. But there's something about that unsuccessful outcome to the problem that also was like out of your control, or it was like there's nothing that you should blame yourself for in terms of the outcome, because there's like, here's the thing, pile two, everybody has limitations, okay? Nobody, Rome wasn't built in a day, like nobody's Hercules, okay? Nobody can really be perfect all the time. We all have limitations. We're human beings. Sometimes we're tired. Sometimes we're having a bad day. And so when you do come across issues like this in the near future, pile two, please be self-forgiving. That's another theme that's really coming out. Forgive yourself more for things, okay? Or give yourself more of a benefit of a doubt. Take your limitations into account. Like, let's say you have a presentation at work and it doesn't go the absolute best that you wanted it to go. And you're immediately like, oh man, I suck. Oh, I'm not good enough. Like that type of negative thinking. Turn that around, pile two, and think, did I get enough sleep that day? Maybe I didn't get enough sleep because I was trying to solve a problem for a family member the night before. And you turn that thinking around by going, oh, wow. Instead of, I fail and I suck, it's, well, I sacrificed some sleep, which might have sacrificed a little bit of the quality of my presentation. But on the other hand, look at how I was loyal to someone that I was close to in a relationship with. Say that family member in that example. Okay. Think about yourself with silver linings. That's another key message here. And then we have the Lantern Oracle, which is also a great lesson deck. I always say this whenever I use it, or most times. Underrated Oracle deck. We have, oh, what a fitting card pile too. What have I been telling you like ad nauseum for the past, I don't know, 20 minutes or so? You need to love yourself and give yourself greater claps on the back. More. Radical self-love. We can only receive love to the extent that we unconditionally love and live the truth of ourselves, okay? You even see in the way that she's swaddling herself. Remember how we talked about like silver lining like a second ago? Like she's swaddling herself in silver. I was like, you need to give yourself more silver linings or think about yourself more in silver linings. There you go. But yeah, generally the message though, pile 2 is you need to love yourself more. So self-love, fittingly, I have a rose quartz up here, right? The next few months or so might be an invitation to learn more about loving yourself, okay? Learn more about what you need, learn more about your limitations, and loving yourself despite those limitations that we all have. Like, nobody's perfect, like I said. And I think that trajectory will lead you to a place of less mental self-harm after this, okay? Or at least it's an opportunity for you to work on this, right? Pile 2. These next few months, all right? I'm trying to see if there's any other messages here. I'm a little confused still about that 2 of Pentacles reversed as the outcome down here. I'm going to draw one more card of clarification on that 2 of Pentacles reversed. I want to see, because we talked about, avoid conflict with relationships with the other 2, and then perspective changes and self-inflicted pain with the first 2. But, Spirit, from the Akashic Records, could you give me one card that clarifies more about what is that 2 of Pentacles reversed about? One card, thanks. It's interesting, too, because we also have pink in the limitation card, like the rose quartz, self-love. But clarifying the 2 of Pentacles is the King of Cups. Interesting. Mastery over our emotions. Okay. Emotional security. Oh, okay. Yeah, so what they're saying, pile 2, is that 2 of Pentacles reversed as the outcome is an opportunity for you to find more balance in terms of emotional security. That's really kind of what the overarching theme is here with alongside the self-love, right? Yeah. Can also represent a person in our life. The court cards can represent people, right? And in terms of a person, the King of Cups is usually a masculine energy person who is in tune with their emotions, right? Especially upright. Someone who is wise counsel. Someone who is very good at talking about relationships and our feelings, okay? So, yeah, King of Cups, 2 of Pentacles reversed. Very interesting. Writing the imbalance in our emotional mastery. Okay, so a lot about emotions, too, over these next few months. A lot about the heart, okay? And for some reason, pile 2, when I look at the tulip, and this might sound really just out there, because it doesn't feel like it's relevant to your reading, but sometimes I say that, and then I mention the thing, and then people in the comments are like, oh, actually, hey, that makes sense. I heard a story once, and I'm fuzzy on the details, so anyone in the comments, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about anything, but I think there is a annual event where, for their help in, I think it was World War II, the Dutch send the Canadians a large amount of tulips every year. I think it's the Dutch to the Canadians, yeah, because like the Netherlands, right? And why would that come up in this reading? I'm going to ask for just 1 second. I know we're getting close to the close of the reading, but I think that'll be the final thing I'm going to ask. I mean, because when you think about it, pile 2, it's being gracious and grateful for the sacrifice that someone else made is what that represents. Oh, and the hangman can mean sacrifice too. Pile 2, that's one other thing you should look out for, is I think there's something that you have made a sacrifice for that you felt went uncherished, or you felt that the person or the people didn't appreciate, that you're going to get paid back for in a positive way that you're not expecting. Okay. Because like I said, I'm drawn to that story of, like the Dutch sending I think it's the Canadians tulips. I don't know if they send it to America, but I think at least Canada, I've heard that they do. Yeah, appreciation for a sacrifice. So that's another thing. Keep a lookout for that. Something you've sacrificed, you felt you didn't get rewarded for, or at least like you weren't, you felt like you weren't appreciated enough for. Look out for the gift of the tulip. Okay. So, all right. So that's what I will leave you with for your reading here, pile number 2. I hope it was helpful and I hope it resonated and you liked it. If so, please like and comment and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition on the channel, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading. So yeah, love yourself more, pile 2. Bye. Hello there, my beautiful pile number 3. Welcome today to your pick a card reading about an Akashic Record dive into helpful messages for the path ahead, roughly next month or next few months in your future. As you recall, the pile leader you chose today was Shadow of Dimensional with the tragedy mask, there we go, and comedy mask. We have a frown and we have a smile. And the title is Quandary Crossroads. Quandary Crossroads. So this card, pile number 3, in the deck that it comes from, the guidebook, is described as a card of when things go wrong, always ask yourself, and yet, ... More literally translated, basically it's a card that reminds us to, when things happen that aren't the outcome that we desire, when things go wrong, to, instead of viewing it as everything is awful, everything is doomed, nothing happy ever happens, view it as just one chapter in a story that is still being written. And there's always potential for things to turn out better. Okay. And I know it sounds kind of dark to the beginning of the reading, because I think a lot of you are probably like, oh, this kind of sounds like a scary pile. But hear me out, because every pile today has been kind of like that. It's been kind of like, oh, here's kind of a scary thing, and then boom, here's a positive thing that comes out of the scary thing. But what I see with these pile leaders today is they seem to be kind of like the main themes for the path ahead for each pile. So I think a major theme, I should say, for the path ahead of you in these next few months, pile 3, is to remember to always look at life as the potential for things to get better. Okay? To look at life with perspectives that don't hold you back. Okay. So Quandary Crossroads is your pile leader. We'll set that over here to the left. There we go. And to begin the reading, we'll start with actually the tea leaf cards is what I've been doing. Then we'll tap into tarot, and then we will do oracle cards towards the end. So, tea leaves, Akashic Records for the next few months, the path ahead for pile 3. What do you want to give them a heads up about? Very interesting. We have the Claw. Be careful, do not take risks. Interesting card to get for the beginning. We have the Wreath, sorrow over a loss. Okay. Don't run away from the reading. Remember I said every pile today was like some kind of like negative thing that turns into a positive thing. So I get the feeling that seems to be kind of a collective message for us today, pile 3, all of us on this channel. And then I will draw from the other half of the deck. Akashic Records. What else do you want to give them a heads up about? Okay, and then we have Mountain, major challenge to overcome. And last but not least, we have Tower. Solid foundation, success with effort. Okay, so pile 3, what I'm hearing is for the next few months, the path ahead for you is there are some challenges. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat. You did get Mountain, which has a major challenge to overcome. You probably already kind of know what the challenge is, especially if it's a major challenge. You kind of already maybe see that. Kind of like when you're walking across a plain and you see a mountain in the distance. It's pretty prominent. You kind of know it's there, right? So that shouldn't be a surprise to you, I don't think. I don't think this is something that you're going to be shocked to hear that there's maybe a challenge in the future. But I do see the positive of success with that challenge as long as you put in the effort. Being wary of taking risks over the next few months, too, is another key piece of advice they're telling you, okay? And then sorrow over a loss. You know, it could be a pile 3 that this challenge to be overcome stems from this loss. Like maybe you lost a family member or just a loved one in general. And so there's a challenge to be overcome related to that particular thing. Maybe you lost a job that you're sorrowful over. Maybe you really liked that job. It really wasn't your time to be let go. But, you know, maybe there were layoffs and it wasn't personal. But, you know, especially in today's economy, right? So that creates a major challenge. You're like, crap, I got to find another job, or do I change a career now, like, that I have kind of a convenient time to change my career, things like that. As long as you put in effort, pile 3, there is success. Okay, so don't be afraid when we see these things, because this is the universe saying to you, through this time of trial, if you put in the effort, it's going to work out okay. Okay, you have a solid foundation. You can get there. You can get to the top of the tower. You just have to do the work to walk up the stairs along the way. Okay. So that seems to be the message so far, is kind of a message of endurance, pile 3. And I think leading into your pile leader, like we talked about before, that card is a lot about the way that we perceive obstacles, the way we perceive negative turns of events in life, right? And not looking at it as, oh, something bad happened. Oh no, it's the end. Doom and gloom, right? Seeing it as, this happened, but then, or and yet, like that question we talked about, okay? So like for an example, say you did lose your job. So the story would go, I lost my job, and yet I worked really, really, really hard, did a lot of interviews, and I scored a job that I liked even more that paid me better. That's an example of that theme that we talked about. Or say that you lost a loved one, which if you did, my condolences, pile number 3, 100% get where you're coming from. I've had lots of loss the past year myself, so I'm kind of in the same boat. Maybe this is my pile today too, pile 3. Maybe we're pile buddies. So the story would go, I lost a loved one, and yet the love that I used to channel into that person, I was able to turn around and share with others in my life. Okay. Or, and yet, I really cherish the things that they shared with me, that I was lucky enough to have by them being in my life. Things like that. Okay. Messages like that. So just keep thinking about things from different perspectives that way. Let's grab your tarot cards. We'll see if we can glean any more messages about, you know, the path ahead, things that are going to occur, advice in general that they want you to keep cognizant of. Let's grab 5 cards, please. We have the Moon reversed. Things are not what they seem, pile 3. Interesting as an inciting incident. We have, it's basically the Moon reversed in tarot. Pile 3 means an illusion broken. There was an illusion before, we broke it, now we see the truth. Because we talked about perspectives, remember? Changing the way we look at things, okay? And I almost wonder, pile 3, I'm getting a message for those of you that did have a loss of some sort, like say, especially if it was like a job, not so much for those of you that it was like a loved one, say, but say it was like a job or something more material like that. There's something about what you lost that you're going to realize it wasn't as good as you thought it was, like say the job. like, yeah, you'll realize it wasn't as good as you thought it was when you get to the next step with the success after the effort, after you cross that mountain. Okay. Like, the imagery they're showing me is like you walking through this plane and you think, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. And then this mountain pops up and you're like, oh, crap. I want to stay in the plane where it's nice and safe and it's great. Like, I don't want to have to climb that rocky mountain. You know, I don't want to, have to go through that. But then you get to the other side, and then the other side, you look back and you realize that that plane was a lot less lush than the one that you find afterwards. Like, say this new plane has, I don't know, apple orchards all across it. Kind of a step up from the old plane that is just grass, right? Which, grass is great, right? We love grass. This is a really odd thing to say on a tarot channel, but a plane with apple orchards is a lot more fun to be in than a plane with no food, right? So that's what I'm seeing. It's like breaking the illusion of the greatness of what you thought was before by finding a greater greatness after. Okay, that's something popping through. For those of you that it was like a material loss, right? Not so much for the people that lost loved ones, of course, because, interesting. The Eight of Pentacles, look at that too. Hard work. The Eight of Pentacles is like, oftentimes I call it like the blacksmith card. It's like a blacksmith having to hammer at something over and over again, like they're forging steel, okay, on the anvil. Like, this girl is creating these pentacles out of these thorn brambles, and it's hurting her, it's bleeding her hands, and she's even crying, but she keeps going through with it. So that's another thing, pile 3 is, like I said, success with effort. It might not be the easiest path. I'm not going to sugarcoat this reading for you. That's a mountain, don't get me wrong, but there's reward for that effort. Okay, there's reward for working through the thorns. Okay. There's a rose at the top of the thorny bramble. Oh, look at that, pile 3. The Tower reversed is the heart of the matter, avoiding disaster. You know what, pile 3? I think that's another part of the illusion breaking, is that what you're leaving behind, not only are you finding something greater afterwards, you're going to find out after that it was kind of doomed anyways. Say that you were laid off from a particular job, and you were like, oh crap, this is like the worst thing ever. I got let go. What am I going to do? And then you find out like a month later, boom, the company folded anyways. So it was just doomed anyways. It's like avoiding a disaster. And having left earlier, it's like it sucks at the time, don't get me wrong, pile 3, but going along with this example, having left earlier, you're already kind of ahead of the game against everybody else that just lost their job, right, at that company that folded, say. And it's interesting too, because you got the Tower twice. You got it from the tea leaf, and you also got it in tarot. So you have the Tower upright up here. Okay, and you have the Tower reversed here. Now, they mean different things in each deck, but I do find it interesting that you have both. So when symbols are repeated like that in a card reading, pile 3, I do tend to say that this is maybe something that you want to look out for synchronicities in your waking life. Like, let's say maybe, say it is a job-related thing. Maybe there's like tower imagery in the logo of a company that you might interview with, or it might be tower imagery in like the name. Okay, like something towers or whatever, or like something about the location, or depending on your specific situation, because this will differ for everyone watching this, so just look out for tower symbolism. Okay, all right. And then we have the King of Wands. Look at that. It's also a phoenix, pile 3. And you know what phoenixes do? They rise from the ashes. Things are just, you think everything is just god-awful, and then something sparks anew and it's better than it was before. Okay. So that's why I said just don't run from the reading when you say these things, because, and I'm telling you, this is like every single pile today, pile 3. Every single pile today was like, I think especially pile 2 was like this too, where it was like they, like, just, something craptastic happens, and then boom, the roller coaster goes back up again. So I don't know why that tends to be, it's a very common theme here. I guess in our community we had a lot of phoenix moments. Things seem all lost, and then the spark fires again, yeah. Which is actually really cool. It's a positive thing, right? And then we have, oh cool, the Ten of Pentacles is the outcome, pile 3. And that's about legacy. It's about inheritance. Can mean success with finances, right? Because it's a Pentacles card and it's 10, which means, kind of the penultimate before, of course, we get to the court cards, right? But look at that. Look at that comeback right there, pile 3. That was the word I was looking for, comeback. Yo, okay, so yeah, pile 3. I know it might seem bleak when I say, oh, major challenge to overcome. Okay. I know it might seem bleak if, say you did lose a loved one, or say you did lose, a job or something that was important to you, however that might apply to you, pile 3. But I promise you, after that hard work is done and the illusion is broken, look at all these positive cards. You're going to avoid a disaster, rising from the ashes like the phoenix. And specifically, I remember I didn't talk about what the King of Wands technically means. King of Wands, pile 3, is about mastery over our ambitions. It's also our willpower, our power in general, our confidence, charisma. It can even represent a person with masculine energy that embodies those traits, like, say, someone who is charismatic, or masculine energy who is like a leader, someone who's ambitious, right? So that can mean that there's a figure like that entering your life soon that is related to these things. Like, say, going with the job example, say that you lost a job and then you interview with a masculine figure that has that energy. That might be kind of a sign that that's the job that you're going to get, pile 3, okay, just as an example, right? But in general, it's just, mastery over ambition. So the things that you're ambitious about, the things that you want to achieve here in the next few months on the path ahead, pile 3, I see a lot of success with that after a time of having avoided disaster. So it looks awful on the surface when it occurs, because you're like, oh man, this looks like a tornado coming my way, but really what it does is it allows something better to flourish afterwards, okay? As long as you put in the hard work of that 8 of Pentacles and, success with effort with the Tower. And then, yes, the 10 of Pentacles is the outcome is fantastic in terms of the material world, in terms of our home, in terms of our body and health, in terms of our money and finances and our career. So if you've been looking for things to kind of pick up a bit from some issues in those areas, the 10 of Pentacles is a fantastic sign that those things are going to get better, pile number 3, okay? Things like that. So just be wary of taking risks, play it safe. Play things a little bit more on the less risky side, okay? Don't do too many risky investments, for example, or, don't, make a big purchase if, like, maybe finances are an issue right now. Say if you did lose your job, right? Just kind of common sense things like that. Don't take risks is one little warning, but look at that trajectory, like I said. Let's grab your oracle cards as well. We have the Ask Your Guides Oracle and the Lantern Oracle. Let's start with the Guides one. So, let's see what else the Akashic Records wants to say about the timeline ahead. Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to shuffle. See, they flip over and there's like 10 of them. And I'm like, I can't take 10. Let's do that again. 1, please. Thank you. Okay, I was literally just going to say 1, please, and it just popped out. We have leadership. Look at that. Pile 3. So number 14, leadership. That's literally kind of what the King of Wands is like. That card. It even looks kind of fiery, too. And she's holding the moon in her hand, which is interesting because it's, you did get the moon earlier, right? Specifically a crescent moon in the shape of a bow. What a beautiful card. Leadership. So there's a lot of themes about leadership on your path ahead here. Pile 3 in the next few months, right? There could be chances for you to take some leadership. Actually, pile 3, some of you, if you lost a job, this might be an invitation for you to try being a leader in your own way. So it could be some of you, maybe that's like, be wary of taking risks, but for some of you where it's maybe not so much of a risk, starting a new business, okay, that works really well after lots of effort, okay, that will lead to financial success there with that 10 of Pentacles. It could be for some of you, maybe when, like, say you are applying to certain jobs, maybe look for a job that's a little bit higher responsibility than the one that you were leaving. Don't shy away from management positions or leadership positions, okay? Or even just in your community, even if you're like do volunteering or like a group that you're in, or maybe becoming a part of like a council or something with your city or your neighborhood, things like that. Don't shy away from leadership roles, pile 3, okay? Because this path ahead is a time for you to shine, okay? Like we have the Phoenix on fire, the King of Wands, a leader, charismatic, confident, okay? Not being afraid to rise above the fray and shine brighter than everyone else, okay? Because that's what a leader is, right? Someone who's not afraid to stick their head above the crowd. Okay. Then let's see what else we've got from the Lantern Oracle. Fantastic deck. My favorite Oracle deck. We have this card right here. Presence of absence. Hold what is absent in the presence of your love. So I think this might be a message for some of you who especially maybe you lost a loved one, because this particular card depicts it looks like a widow, and she's got the picture of a man in the background. Seems to be maybe her husband. Maybe she lost him recently. And right in front of her, though, are pictures of the younger generation. It almost looks like, I'll just take a peek a little bit closer here. It looks like there's a younger man down here and a younger woman here and a child over here in the frame. So what that card means is when we lose something or someone, it encourages us to take what we feel is missing most from our lives after we've lost that person or thing and reapply it to other areas of our life. Okay. So for example, say you lost a loved one and say that they were someone that you were really close to and communicated with a lot. So part of the reason why it's so hard to let them go is because you feel like there's a gap in your life in terms of someone else. Like, for example, someone I can turn to talk to. Take that and turn it towards other people. Maybe you can be that wise advisor to other people in your life as the person that was lost was. Just as an example, that might not apply to all of you. Or even if it was, like, say, a job loss, pile 3. What is it that you liked about that job that you want to look for in the new one? Or say you're starting a business. What is it that you liked about your previous career experience that you want to highlight in the new business? You want to emphasize. What do you want to let go of, too? That wasn't working. Okay. So it's things like that. When we lose people or when we lose things, part of it is an invitation to realize the value of what was lost so that we can try to encourage more of that energy in our lives in other places. Okay. So yeah, I definitely feel some of you did lose probably someone, which once again, my condolences, pile 3. Because, you know, you did get, like, the widow card here with this one, and then sorrow after loss with wreath, because, I mean, that's a common thing that we do. We put wreaths on graves, right? So, it's also an indication, pile 3, that if you did lose someone, there's still a part of them around in some way, which, I mean, I always say that when we do lose people, pile 3, because they're never gone. They're always around. Omnipresent, around you all the time, right? In the way that they can be now that they're not anchored to a physical body anymore, right? So look also for signs like that. If you have maybe came to this reading hoping to hear something about a passed on loved one, look for signs that they're around, okay? I know sometimes, you know, people will see objects that were important to that person before they passed moved around, or sometimes people get clairaudient things, they'll hear their voice, things like that, or something along those lines, or something. Look out for signs for those of you that lost loved ones that they're still there. Because maybe you just haven't heard them yet, or you haven't paid attention to them. Because grief can really distract and fog our eyes, right? They're there in some way, even if you don't necessarily notice it. Okay. So look for things out of place. Look for things that are odd. That might be kind of an indicator, right? So yeah, just to summarize your reading, pile 3, it's the path ahead is a lot about hard work. It's a lot about picking up and hitting the ground running after what felt like disaster or something that was a big blow to us, right? But shining and succeeding anyways because of our hard effort, even when the times get tough, okay? And shining like a leader afterwards, rising from the ashes like the phoenix of the King of Wands, and finding success here with the Ten of Pentacles. Oh, that's another thing, pile 3. The Ten of Pentacles can also mean the legacy card in terms of family. So if it was a family member that you lost, perhaps someone of the older generation than you, that can be an indicator that there's something that they passed down to you that it is time for you to pass down to someone new, in terms of lessons, in terms of time spent with them, in terms of maybe even like a physical affect, like, like inheriting something down. Because I know inheritance is another interpretation of the Ten of Pentacles. That can be things, when people pass away, we have to figure out, well, where does their stuff go, right? So, yeah, it's going to be okay, pile 3. There's going to be times on the path ahead where it feels like it's very difficult. There's a mountain to climb. But as long as you give it your all, and you're not afraid to take leadership, it's going to work out better than you think it is. It's going to be better than where you were before. Okay. So that is what I will leave you with for your reading today, my wonderful pile 3. I hope that reading was helpful. I hope it resonated, and I hope you liked it. Please, if you did like it, if it did resonate, please like and comment and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so yet. That just helps me out a little bit, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, full of greener pastures after maybe more fallow ones, right? And I hope to see you in the next reading, pile 3. Bye.